Welcome to Gods and Monsters by E. E. King, read by me, E. E. King. Each week, MetaStellar is releasing a new episode of Gods and Monsters, both in print and on audio YouTube. Thank you for joining. And now, this week's episode 43, Predator and Prey. Last week, Jeremy turned Pamela into a vampire. Jeremy and his cat Beethoven were killed, but their both ghosts live on, making music in the night streets of San Francisco. Their music brings love and happiness to all who hear it. And now, chapter 138, Pamela, San Francisco, 1974. Lake Merritt. Raya watches heartsore as Pamela roams the city, spending each night in a different place. She's careless. If instinct had not pushed her underground, she would have stayed outside to greet the dawn. She would have welcomed it. A brief burning, and then nothing. A fleeting agony in turn for oblivion, a small price to pay for cessation of sorrow. Pamela walks miles, crosses bridges at night, staying in Berkeley, Oakland, or Marin, smiling bitterly as she remembers Teresa's hatred of the sticks. Berkeley is a banquet. Students returning from late night classes, study sessions, or parties are easy pickings. Raya watches her son suck young bodies dry, weigh them down with stones, and sink them in Lake Merritt. Lake Merritt is a tidal lagoon east of downtown Oakland, Ryo says. He is talking to Huck, but hoping his words will seep into River's consciousness. Huck squawks encouragingly. Long before men walked these shores, unnamed streams ran along redwood banks into an estuary. The streams were home to spawning salmon, and on moonless nights, you can sometimes still see a few pellucid salmon seeking lost gravel beds, listening to a song deep within their jeans. I can see back to a time when grizzly bear and elk roamed the hills. Seals, sea otters, and gray whales were common. The Ohlone fished, hunted, and gathered food along its shores. You would have loved it then, but people do not like the untamed things of this earth. By 1810, the last Ohlone had been relocated to Mission San Jose to serve the Holy Fathers. The Ohlone did not take well to captivity. They vanished like stars above city lights, perishing even more quickly than the wild creatures on the shore. Today, they are ghosts, visible only beneath a dark star or a new moon. In 1849, Dr. Samuel Merritt came west, searching for gold. He combed the streams and broke stones, looking for hidden veins of treasure. He found none. Some men succumb to despair. Others mine their strength. The lucky may find gold, he said, and the meek may inherit the earth, but not the water rights. Water is more precious than gold. Dr. Merritt founded the Oakland Waterfront Company, which soon controlled the entire shoreline. He built a grand house on the estuary. By 1867, Dr. Merritt was mayor of Oakland. By 1869, he had built a dam, creating the lake that still bears his name. The lake had thick wetlands fringing the shore. Its fertile shelter attracted large numbers of migratory birds. The birds, in turn, attracted equally large numbers of hunters. Dr. Merritt didn't enjoy the retort of weapons so close to his home. He didn't like the shores of his lake stained with feathers. The scent of blood was more pungent than the climbing yellow roses curving over his doorway. In 1896, he declared the lake a wildlife refuge. A year later, the state made it official. It was the first game sanctuary in North America. Some say that on dark, still nights, nights when the moon is new or hidden by fog, Merritt can still be seen walking the shores, gently puffing a cigar and surveying his creation. Like the migrating birds, people flocked to Oakland. Creeks became drains. Lake Merritt became a harbor for the necessities of nature. Sewage flowed into the arms of the lake, covering it like a dirty shawl across bare shoulders. The stench was terrible. The blotted bodies of bass, once so plentiful they could be scooped from the lake by hand, floated belly up on the calm waters and ringed the shores. Finally, the stink was too much to bear. City officials built new pipes, sending the sewage around the lake directly, deeply into the bay. All sewage flows to the sea, and yet the sea is not full, at least not yet. Without its burden of waste, Lake Merritt began to cleanse itself. A park now circles the lake. It's still as a mirror, reflecting the recumbent juniper which edge the shores like twisted ropes. Above them, white, gold, and green Art Deco apartments rise like imperial angels. You would like it, River, seeing the resident small black coot plunge beneath the surface like miniature submarines shattering the still water, watching gulls soar overhead, battling midair for scraps. Long neck, black-headed Canada geese float on the placid surface. 30 years ago, people would plot from miles around to admire the stately Canada goose. But now, they are considered noisy, messy irritants. Feeding is prohibited. Neighbors plot to drive them away. Preservationists destroy their nesting grounds. They are once rare flowers, become weeds. Exotics have never bothered me much. Things travel and spread, always have, always will. Funny that the most invasive species there is makes it their cause to combat aliens. If you had visited the lake river, you might have fed the geese rolls so crunchy and flavorful they would never have squawked again. They would have followed you, silent as white-cheeked shadows. But you remained in the city, and the goose remained a nuisance. The fish, lizards, and salamanders hiding beneath rocks and foliage don't mind the Canada geese. They would, however, if they could, eradicate the black-crowned night heron who crouched secretly in the shadows, skewering minnows and reptiles with dagger-sharp beaks. Tall eucalypts tower round parts of the lake. Like vampires, eucalyptus arrived during the gold rush, and, like vampires, eucalypts do not decay. Great and snowy egrets, white as dreams, with serpentine necks and long questing beaks, nest in eucalypts, but the songbirds find no purchase. They cannot make cavities for nesting in the firm, eternally youthful wood. Short-billed birds poking for beetles or worms suffocate, their nostrils clogged with pitch. Like geese, the eucalyptus have become pests. Residents wish them gone. Some have even smuggled in Australian insects to attack them. But like the trees, like the geese, like the vampires, the bugs always prefer exotic sources of food. Black cormorants reside at the lake year-round. Unlike most diving birds, cormorants do not have waterproof feather. When they emerge from the water, they perch. They extend their wings outwards to dry, giving them the name Jesus Christos birds, Jesus Christ birds. They are so buoyant, they must eat pebbles to be heavy enough to dive. In Japan, fishermen bind their necks with metal rings to prevent them from swallowing and scoop the fish from their sealed throats. If Oolone's guardian spirit was a cormorant, he'd possess a knack for accomplishing what others could not. Cormorants are feathered reminders to dive without hesitation. But now the Oolone have vanished, and the cormorants have been transformed from totems to fishhooks. It's easier not to mourn the disappearance of the wild and the taming of the estuary when you can see the future as clearly as the past. I can see the concrete and metal collapse and crumble. Slowly, the lake will resume her old form, her true form, a creature of the tides, a mingling of fresh water and salt tears. The salmon will run again, and the spirits of the Oolones and the elk will wander the shores. Of course, I also see its damming again, and Pamela's disposals, and feel your heart break. That is the way with circles. They never end. We can't stop them where we want to. Space curves, even as we walk forward. Ryo watches a group of students wander home from a late night meeting. They chatter like birds. They part ways, departing through the night, solitary as the red night heron that huddle on the shores. Trailing a young man until he is alone, Pamela bites. As soon as her teeth sink into his flesh, she knows something is wrong. This blood, usually so sweet, tastes acrid. Her insides twist, writhing like a live creature. She falls to the ground, barely having time to crawl into the shelter of a cellar before daylight. When she awakens the next night, her canines have dissolved. Chapter 139, San Francisco, 1987. Predator and Prey. River enters Bert's. In spite of himself, his heart leaps at the sight of Pam. He wants his heart to be stone. He wants never to have met her. But wishes are overrun by desire. Love triumphs over fear. The crystal necklace hangs around his neck, beautiful as a promise, certain as loss. Pamela looks up. Her nostrils widen as if she smells food, as if she smells blood. She lunges at River, grabbing at the necklace, tugging with all her strength. Its delicate chain is surprisingly strong. He is forced toward her. Take off the necklace, River, Pamela hisses. It lures them. They feel the energy, see the colors that were once white. That is why there are killings. It draws them, draws us. Yes, us, the undead. We hear the lack of a heartbeat, smell the lack of blood, see the light of night in shining fangs. The chain won't give way. It's ripping his throat, tearing his flesh. She pulls him to her. She's supernaturally strong. She yanks him into a back room and shuts the door. In the dark, Pamela's eyes gleam like a cat's. River exhales, torn between terror and grief. Pamela, his Pamela, is a monster. He had known, of course he had known, since the moment he had seen Thanatos bottle blood. But he had not seen, not felt, not believed the transformation of love to loathing. There's a pain in his chest. He can barely breathe. Pamela turns the light on, changing the pantry into an unnatural day. She is still clutching the necklace. She looks so sweet, so beautiful, so human. Her arms reach around him, unfastening the clasp, drawing the chain toward her. My heart is filled with words I have not said to you, she says. They block my throat and stop my breath. I know you despise me, think I'm not the woman you loved, but I didn't choose my fate. People pity lambs and fear wolves, but both are necessary, both part of the cycle. There is the world of the living and the world of the dead, and then there are those in between. We have no souls, but that does not mean we have no conscience. You may have heard tales of us surviving on rats, on dining only on the evil or the lost. They are not true. We must eat whenever night falls, no matter what or who we find, especially the first time. We have no control, no free will, predator and prey, all of us, all of you. I was reborn when I was bitten. You would be reborn too, if you wanted, if I could. Pamela spits out a bridge, exposing gaps where her eye teeth had been. But I cannot bite you. I cannot change you. I am not even a predator anymore. We require human blood, healthy blood. Otherwise, our canines rot. We cannot feed, nor can we die. Those who lack teeth, those who contain poison within them cannot reproduce, cannot spread the toxin. In that way, our species is more kind than yours, more kind than most. I used to be kind, then hostile, finally distant, but alive, or at least as alive as an undead can be. Now I'm a toothless vampire. What a joke. Not very funny, but a joke nonetheless. Pamela grins, her closed-lipped grin, not alive or dead or undead. Her face crumbles with unsheddable tears. I thought that I was done with love. The only close contacts I had were with creatures like Thanatos. I didn't want you. I didn't want to feel. It's too hard. What am I going to do? I can't die, and I can't make you live like me, even if you wanted to. And I can't even cry, damn it. It'd be funny if it weren't so damn sad. Join us next week when River looks at Pam, crystal necklace between them. She is there, right in front of him. So how can he miss her so intently? The pantry door blows open. Gabrielle is there, indigo-eyed, focused. He has heard the call of the crystal, like a ripple in the stream, like a virus in the blood, expanding ever outward, encompassing eternity. Thank you for joining us. See you next week. Bye-bye.